Hello everyone, and this isn't a podcast or anything, this is just a very quick video on how we record the podcast. So I'm going to do this from my end first and then we'll get to James's end, because there's two different variations on how we record the podcast. Because if you haven't sort of worked out already, I'm the person who pretty much does all the media work on the channel. So I make all the thumbnails, I make the channel art, I add the tags to videos, not all videos but most videos, and basically I just help schedule stuff throughout the channel. I know James does his fair share of stuff as well, but I'm just saying, between us, I think we both agree that I do most of it, which I don't mind doing, by the way. It's totally fine. So I'm just going to run you through how I record it and then we'll hand you over to James, I guess. So the number one thing the baseline that I use to record stuff on is a laptop to use. Now, you don't have to use a laptop. I happen to use a laptop, but you can use whatever. But I'm just going to say what I use. So I use a MacBook, and how I record the podcast is through Streamlabs. Now, for a while, Streamlabs OBS wasn't supported on macOS, so I just used the first version of OBS, just like normal OBS. And Streamlabs OBS isn't that different, to be honest. You've just got integrations with Streamlabs. So either one's fine, to be honest, and both work fine. I do prefer using normal OBS because it is just a bit simpler, and also as well, you don't get pop-ups on it. So sometimes we could get, I don't know, like a subscriber alert popping up or something on one of the podcasts we're doing, which could be a bit annoying, but on normal OBS that doesn't happen. So yeah, first step is get yourself either a recording device or a laptop to use. Now, the actual microphone that I use for the podcast is a Blue Snowball. It's not that interesting, to be honest, the microphone that you have to use, but yeah, the reason I use the Blue Snowball is I've had it for ages. It's quite cheap, it's really reliable, and it's plug and play. You don't have to download any drivers or anything. Just one piece of advice though, well, this is what I have to do, because I have a MacBook, I have to use an adapter just to plug it in, but don't worry about that. I'm just saying that's something that we have to do, which has caused some issues in the past, but it was just the adapter's fault, nothing to do with the microphone. So yeah, that's the microphone I use. And if you want some advice for a microphone to use, I'd probably recommend, well, work out your budget and then just break it down very, very simply what you want, what type of microphone that you want. So for example, for podcasts and stuff, Blue Snowball's fine. If you want to record music, I'd recommend something a lot different, but obviously that's totally up to you. Now, the next thing that we do on the podcast, or how we record it, is the software. So what software do we use on the podcast? As I mentioned before, I do use OBS or OBS Streamlabs to record and live stream from the podcast, but to actually render the videos and edit the audio and make thumbnails and stuff, this is what I use. So I use Final Cut Pro 10. You don't have to use Final Cut Pro 10. iMovie is completely fine if you're looking to do that on a Mac, but Final Cut Pro 10 is good because you can add a lot more animations, a lot more effects. I know that there's not many effects on our videos and stuff, but I'm just saying in the future, hopefully we can get around to doing that. And to like sort of mix the sound together and edit out stuff, because you can edit out sound on Final Cut Pro, but it's just a bit better to have a dedicated software to do that. I do use Logic Pro 10, Logic Pro X. I think it's 10 or X, whatever. But I use that because I got it in a bundle with Final Cut Pro, and it just seemed the right thing to do. If you are taking advice from this video, GarageBand is completely fine if you're on a Mac. If you're on Windows Movie Maker, it's totally fine. But if you want to upgrade from that, I'd probably recommend it's not Sony Vegas anymore, it's Magic's Movie Studio Platinum, or Magic's Movie Studio. I'd recommend. Very simple, but you can get quite a lot done, and you can learn it very, very quickly. And you can get the keys quite cheap, actually, both from like an official site and from other CD key sites, but I wouldn't recommend going there. And the software that we use to edit together the thumbnails is Photoshop. Now, I used to use Adobe Spark a lot, but I am transitioning more over to Photoshop recently. Basically because I just want to get a bit more professional, and as well Adobe Spark isn't that, there's not that many features added onto it, so it's very simple and you can get thumbnails out extremely quickly, but I'd rather spend a bit more time and get them done sort of properly on Photoshop. And also as well, you can export them as like a Photoshop file, and then if you want to go back and edit them, you can do all that, and it's just a really good way to do it on Photoshop. But you don't have to use Photoshop if you are taking advice from this video. So yeah, that's the software side of it. And this isn't really like a software or hardware part of the video. I'm just saying that the way me and James come around with our ideas for stuff, and they're not like groundbreaking ideas or anything, but the way we come about it is we just talk throughout the week. We just say, oh, this should be a good topic to talk about, or oh look, this is a bit interesting, let's research this a bit more, and then by the end of the week we know the topic pretty well, and then we just do it on the podcast or something. I just want to bring this up as well. I know quite a few of our subscribers now are sort of DSP related. I know me and James have mentioned that before on the podcast, but we're just saying I know the most about DSP because James pretty much doesn't know that much about him. I know he won't mind me saying that because he asks me for stuff about him sometimes, but the way I keep up with topics is I just follow different sources of media. So follow Twitter, follow stuff on Kiwi Farms, sometimes Reddit, although Reddit's a bit weird. So is Twitter actually. So you just got to like make sure what you're talking about is actually genuine. And yeah, the last piece of advice before I hand you over to James is probably just have a laugh, just take it for a laugh. There's so many times on the podcast where me and James just start laughing. Like there's 10-minute sections sometimes where we're just laughing and not taking it seriously. And yeah, you've just got to do it for a laugh, because there's no point doing a podcast for the intention of getting, I don't know, 1 million subs or anything. Just do it for a laugh, and whatever happens, happens. So that's my sort of ramble out of the way, and let's go over to James.
Alright there everyone, how's it going? So, today I will show you how I record my podcasts. So, first things first, I'll show you how I previously recorded them. Now, originally, Aaron recorded them on OBS, but I'm not really that good with OBS or any of that stuff. I'm not really that tech savvy with most stuff. So, but for a while, Aaron couldn't record them, and sometimes, even while Aaron wasn't busy, he couldn't record them. So, at first, I used... Well, obviously, I'm recording quite a lot of podcasts now myself, but I'll get to that later. But I used my DSLR Canon 700D to record at first. And it's okay, the audio doesn't come through that well, but there was a lot of background noise. There was a lot of... like... Because usually, that noise in the background is to try and cut out background noise so you can hear the people talking. Well, I'm assuming. But when you're in a quiet room and it's just you talking, having a regular conversation and trying to pick up things, and it isn't like, there isn't, you know, and it's a long drawn out thing, it isn't just like a normal conversation, it isn't like for a film or a short film or anything, or a skit or whatever, that sound becomes very apparent. Obviously I used, but then I thought, oh, how do I get rid of this sound? So I brought myself a Rode mic, plugged it in. It got rid of the sound slightly, but it didn't really do that much at all, so I was like, oh man. But anyway, I looked into it, and there's this equalisation tool that you can use on Final Cut. So you click on the audio, and it comes up with loads of different dials. There's one that only has a few dials on there, and you just pull them up and down, or whatever, to get rid of the background noise. It doesn't get rid of it fully, but it gets rid of a lot of it. And then there's one where when there's like loads more dials, loads more, and you can just mess around to get rid of the background noise, or it mutes certain parts of the video, you know, so that's alright. But then, so the audio improved quite a bit, and then after that though, I thought to myself, why not buy a microphone and record through that? So I bought myself a Blue Yeti, and yeah, bought myself a Blue Yeti, and what I do is I turn the input gain up a lot on Final Cut. I sit a little bit away from the mic. I don't go right by it. Well, like I just did then for some reason, acting out, I don't know why. But I don't go right by it. I sit a bit away from it. Then I put my phone down, and originally I was facing my where the volume comes out of the phone. This bit here, I was facing it away, towards the mic at first, and it didn't really sound that good. But then I put my phone sideways, and the audio sounded a lot better. I also record through Discord, originally we recorded everything through Messenger, but now Aaron does and I do. We mostly like to use Discord. Sometimes people's Discords mess up, just mess around with the settings. On Messenger, sometimes people have like an echo on, so I think to fix that you have to put loudspeaker on in Discord to fix the echo. I don't know what to do. I think you just mess around with the settings and see what happens. But the thing is, Messenger is okay to use if you want to do a Messenger call, but Discord, it sounds a lot more clear and it's a bit better in my opinion. So yeah, that's how I record when I'm recording the podcast. That's what I do. It's not really as good as using OBS. What I do after I've recorded it, I get the logo and I put the logo in. What I do to make the logo look clear, I add a freeze frame right at the start, and then I get rid of the rest of the bit of it. Then I drag the freeze frame out all the way to the top, so it won't look perfect at first when you watch the video back, but then when you export it to upload to YouTube, it'll look pretty clear. So yeah, that's how I record podcasts on my end. Aaron does it differently. The way Aaron does it is better, but I enjoy doing it this way. I prefer doing it this way, and I'm not very good with OBS. So yeah, that's the way I do it. Thanks for watching the way I do it.